Okay, welcome everyone to the Missouri Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Back to School Nutrition Forum. My name is Shelly Summar. I'm the past president of the Missouri Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and I'm also a dietitian on the Weighing In program at Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City. And I'm pleased to have panelists Sheila Chapman and Shannon Ebron with me this afternoon to talk about back to school nutrition. So to get us started, I just want to take a second for both of them to introduce themselves. Sheila, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Sheila Chapman. I'm a pediatric dietitian in Columbia, Missouri. I work at the University of Missouri Healthcare for the Pediatric and Adolescent Specialty Clinic. And I do nutrition counseling and education for children and adolescents from infancy all the way till college age, doing general pediatric nutrition as well as neurodevelopmental and eating disorder and working with families in those situations.
Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. It sounds like you've got a full plate and a wide range of nutrition issues that you talk about on a regular basis.
Yes.
And Shannon, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am the current president of the St. Louis Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I'm also the director of child nutrition at Riverview Garden School District, where I oversee the breakfast and lunch program for pre-K through 12th grade students. We have about close to 6,000 students, and we're actually a CEP district, which means that our students eat for free. They receive one breakfast and one lunch for free every day.
All students?
All students.
Well, that
enrolled. Yes.
And how many is that, all students enrolled?
So it's close to 6,000 students district-wide, 13 schools that I service.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of meals.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon and bringing that expertise to the conversation. So I wanted to get started because I'm sure parents are a little anxious about going back to school right now and all of the changes or things to think about. And there are a couple of different ways I think about this. One is sort of in the in-home setting, and then one is in the in-person setting in school. So I'd like to start with Sheila, maybe you. Can you explain ways parents can plan around these current challenges to provide healthy meals and snacks for their kids, especially when they're engaging in school at home?
Okay. Yeah, so thinking about parents and their roles as this challenging time and very unique. So not only are they parenting, but they're also teaching, and they're, in these instances, some parents may be at home, also cooking meals that normally would be had at school. So lots of things happening in the home. So a few things that could be helpful for families is to understand the resources that are available within their local community. So reaching out to their school districts and figuring out, what resources they have for them, connecting with parents to decide, maybe to get ideas about what other parents are doing or other resources that they might be using. Connecting with local community or businesses to see if there are options or things happening within the community, as well as if needed, contacting their local food bank, and just gathering these resources to, again, help them make decisions around food planning and purchasing and what they actually need. But as far as at home, I feel like it would be really helpful to think about establishing a routine, and probably making that look very similar to what school would look like. So having a routine of breakfast and lunch and snack times that would be similar to what they would see at school can be really helpful in establishing that routine and that predictability for children, and also for planning for meals that you're going to prepare, setting those times for when they're going to have those meals and snack times, and then establishing a place that's void of screens and media, that is a place where they gather together and have a meal, where they can, you know, again, that natural break in the day, getting away from that constant streaming of information, relaxing, making connections socially within the day that might look strange, you know, within their home. They're used to, you know, talking with their parents on a regular basis, but if you're engaged in online learning, you know, your interaction is going to look a little different. So really making a place that's set aside for that connection and that family time. Also maybe using like a visual schedule, either, you know, something on the refrigerator or a whiteboard, that sets out, you know, what the meals are going to be, what the snacks are, so that the children can kind of know what to expect throughout the day, and also just know that this is snack time and this is meal time. These are learning times, those kind of things to distinguish between things. And then as far as thinking about just the whole putting together those meals and those snacks, you know, really sit down and do meal planning and engage your kids and other family members in that process of, you know, getting on Pinterest and figuring out meals, or, you know, looking at the school calendar and see what what those lunches and breakfasts look like, to get ideas. And engage everybody in that process, making the list, and then making a menu, developing a grocery list based on that menu, can be helpful, and helping predict quantities, and also helpful in staying within a budget. When we go grocery shopping, trying to find a time when you can shop, followed with coming home and getting those things prepped and ready for the week. So cutting up vegetables, washing things, putting things away, making snack baskets that maybe are in the cabinet, or setting aside the fruit bowl, the refrigerator, in different types of snacks that we have, or things kind of prepping for the week, so that, you know, with these time changes and parents trying to, again, navigate probably also their jobs and time schedules, that, you know, this prep time, meal time doesn't become a huge, you know, endeavor. So trying to space out the time that you spend preparing. And then again, getting those kids involved in putting away the groceries, and cutting things up, and, you know, preparing things that, you know, that their age appropriate is helpful at that time too. And then some things just to consider when we're going to the grocery store is thinking again about that food prep time, and thinking about developing a list of like go-to meals that are, you know, ingredients that are 5 or 6 ingredients, or they're 30 minutes or less of a meal time. And you have a list of those that you can kind of go to, as well as, you know, ones that you might come up with along the way. Having I knew I was going to have a problem with that. Shelf stable foods to account for days when maybe you didn't buy what you thought you bought, or you forgot to take the meat out of the freezer. You know, you have rice and beans, and there's tortillas, and you can make burritos for the family, or there's cans of tuna for tuna sandwiches, or pasta and sauces that you can kind of pull together. So thinking about having those things as well as your menu, just to help on those kind of days. And then thinking about pre-cut, frozen, canned, to be used when the produce gets used up by earlier the week, or things that when you're thinking about quick and easy options for kids, just to pull out some, you know, a single container fruit to add to their peanut butter sandwich. Just things that make it a little bit easier and not so much prep time are important. Frozen fruit to add to the yogurt, so that, you know, we think about expensive, maybe some of the fresher produce, splitting that kind of, that expense. And then making double portions, or using ingredients for multitasking. So if you're baking chicken, buy a couple extra chicken breasts and cut them up for chicken salad the next day. Double portions of chilies or soups, those kind of things that you can then use leftovers for the next day to cut down on time. But also when you're cooking in bulk, you're saving money too, in that way. And then too, with the snacks that you're having, that might be certain times that during the day that you don't have a whole lot of time. So thinking about buying like single portion options, so like cheese sticks or yogurt cups, or single packaged crackers or those kind of things. And having your vegetables already cut up and ready and visible in the refrigerator so kids can come in and pick those out, or have them portioned out for that week or that day, having the fruit bowl on the counter, those kind of things that make it easy to get those healthy options, and saving the sweets and the dessert type things for special occasions, like taking the dinner out for a backyard picnic and adding dessert, or going to the park and or a birthday party, but having those nutritionally dense foods like fruits and vegetables and dairy and those things around for quick snacks and energy to continue that long day, especially at home.
Yeah.
So, but most importantly is just involving the kids and making it fun, so it's not so monotonous, having theme nights, adding tablecloth to the table to make it fancy, just doing things that may be a little bit different. Like I mentioned, taking the dinner into the backyard or something, and engaging the kids in that whole process can bring the family together too and help make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah. Well, gosh, that's a lot of information and things to think about. So lots of great tips, Sheila. So just to sort of wrap up, you talked about looking for local resources to make it easier on you, scheduling. So schedule the meals and snacks so kids have an idea of what they're looking for, sort of like what they do in school, and maybe even modeling it after school. Menu planning. So take the time to think about what you want to have so that you can save time at the grocery store, save time with meal prep. And in your meal planning, make sure to include some pantry staples and some shelf stable foods, so you've always got a backup plan. Avoid distractions, meaning when you're eating, screens off, that it's a break from school, especially during the day. I think that's an excellent tip.
Yeah.
And then making sure to get the kids involved. So those are excellent points. There's two things I wanted to follow up on with you before we go over to Shannon, who's going to talk a little bit about what to expect in schools. First, with the meals and the snacks, as a pediatric dietitian, what do you kind of recommend in terms of number of meals and more specifically snacks for kids at the different ages? And then number two, I don't know if you have some specific resources you'd like to share with the group, or maybe just even email and we can post those resources on the Missouri Academy website, because I think they'd be really helpful with menu planning, like what kids can do at different ages, or any tips like that you might have. So let's go back to the snack question.
Well, so the first piece around recommendations. So kids, before adolescence, so 11 and under, typically we suggest 3 meals and 3 snacks. A lot of times when the kids are in junior high or even in elementary school, really it's, maybe 1 snack in the afternoon. But realistically, when they're home, we typically see anywhere from 2 to 3 snacks, a mid-morning snack and afternoon, and sometimes before bed. And again, a lot of times that could be related to your child. If your child is underweight, or you're struggling with, you have a really active child, or if your child's on a medication that impacts appetite and they might not eat very well during the day, but when that medication wears off in the afternoon, then, they, what we call kind of catch up appetite, that they tend to eat then for the rest of the evening, so that can vary depending on your child and the child's needs. And then as far as, and then kids more in adolescence, depending on how active they are and what sports, if they're an athlete, definitely is 3 meals and 3 snacks to support pre and post kind of workout recovery, and to provide energy in that way. If the child is not involved in as many activities, usually that afternoon snack once a day would be the minimum for
Okay.
that piece.
Okay. Well, that's
And
great.
then some resources just to support some of the information that I gave you. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics supports the kidseatright.org, has some really good information for parents and talking about just meal times and different ideas to provide like healthy snacks, those kind of options. Budgetbites.com is a great website that talks about meal planning and meal ideas and good kind of ways to budget your meals and provide kind of budget-friendly meals and great ideas. And then, of course, choosemyplate.org is an excellent site to talk about just the whole realm of eating and foods and how to incorporate healthy, nutritious foods as well as fun foods and great, as we all know, talks about movement and getting kids active and the family together. So that's a great resource also.
Well, those are excellent ones. And we'll include those as well as maybe some other ones up on the website for people to go to as they're viewing this, this forum. Okay, so now I want to shift directions just a little bit and go over to Shannon. Shannon is, as you've heard, is working in school districts and as the director of child nutrition, and I can imagine that's a very challenging job right now, Shannon. So can you speak to us a little bit about the challenges and maybe the changes you're seeing in school nutrition and what strategies can be used to keep kids in their environment safe and healthy during meal times as they're in person in school?
You know what? I really feel like school nutrition has overcome a lot in the last 6 months. And at this point, I don't really feel like there's anything that we cannot do at this point with the changes in March. You know, if you're familiar with your local school district, many of them hit the ground running and have implemented curbside service similar to restaurants. Some are even almost like DoorDash. The meals are on the bus now, going round and round.
Wow.
We have turned things upside down in school nutrition, but the mission still remains the same, to feed the students and to feed the children. And this school year obviously is going to look different for a lot of students and a lot of school food service departments, but I still feel like food safety is still our top priority, and it always has been. And that's what I want people to know, is that we have always taken the sanitation measures. We have always done, you know, the cleaning multiple times a day, sanitizing multiple times a day. Our team members are ServSafe certified, or they are, you know, certified by another food safety organization. So I know that there's a lot of worry about food service and high touch surfaces that are in the food service environment, but I want parents not to feel that worry, because before the pandemic, we were already taking these food safety measures. So while the food service environment might go beyond the cafeteria this year, we're still making sure that our students are safe, that our staff is safe, and that our school community is safe, and that we're taking those precautions to make sure that we're safe, we're serving food in a safe manner. My personal district is actually going virtual for the first quarter. But again, we're still committed to feeding the students. So we are looking at either implementing a curbside model or potentially meals on the bus out to the students at their bus stop locations. So, I mean, I would just encourage parents and community members to check their website of their school district. School meals have not stopped for most districts, and they are available to the students. There have been some changes with the way that we're serving meals in that if you were familiar with what happened this summer, meals were free for students from age 1 to 18. However, those regulations have changed. So just make sure that you reach out to your school district, look at measures are put into place so that you can purchase those meals or pick up those meals for your students. I still think that food service employees still want to make the environment fun for the students. One thing, allergies and other restrictions were already in place for schools, but I know that like a lot of school districts and school food service departments are really stepping up to do special things for birthdays. So maybe, if you want to order something from their particular food service department, don't feel like, I think a lot of the concern is how sterile the environment might be this school year, but I don't want people to be afraid of that because we're all still rallying around to decorate, the cafeterias in a safe measure. It might be posters on the wall, and not props on the serving line. Like I said, they still want to make birthdays special, so that's something that you can look into. I think it can be really fun to help have the children help out with the ordering process for their meals. A lot of school districts are implementing ordering systems rather than going through the line to kind of cut down on those high touch surfaces like the pen pads and a lot of the biometric scanners that we might use for meal counting and claiming for the students to pay for their meals. But I think it could be a lot of fun if some places you can order meals for the week. So, it's almost like a shopping thing, kind of like Amazon, I guess, for food. I don't know if that's a good habit to pick up or not, but that's one way you can engage your student in learning about school meals and learning about nutrition because the service method might look different. Some foods might be packaged and unfortunately you can't see them as well as maybe students had. Is just maybe help their students learn their PIN numbers or whatever district identifier that district might use to help them pay for their meals or pick up their meals. Just, to limit the contact with the high touch surfaces and just, I don't know, everybody's doing a different method, but that can really help out your child along the way in their school day.
Okay, so you mentioned my number one takeaway from what you're saying, Shannon, is check with your school district to see what they're doing related to school meals, especially if you have any portion of virtual learning going on. Okay, that's great. My second question is, you mentioned a number of different ways that you're delivering meals. Are you delivering both breakfast and lunch in these very unique ways?
We are. So we're delivering breakfast and lunch. I'm looking at packaging meals for multiple days so that we are reducing the amount of contact that we have with people, again, keeping down the high touch surfaces, limiting the potential exposure to the virus. So we're looking at like unitizing breakfast and lunch meals. Monday, they would come and pick up 3 days worth of meals and then come back on Thursday to pick up 2 more meals. But my goal, and pretty much most of the goal of like my colleagues, is that we're still giving out, a week's worth of school nutrition. So that would be 10 breakfast meals and 10 lunch meals.
Okay, and so just for our viewers, so they understand food safety a little bit better, you've already talked a lot about reducing contact, and so I think you covered that pretty clearly. The other part that they may have a question about as you're delivering breakfast and lunch or meals, how do you ensure temperatures are staying at a safe level, or are you looking at all shelf-stable meals that you're delivering?
We're not looking at shelf-stable meals. That is a good option. I'm fortunate that I have a centralized kitchen structure, so I'm able to freeze and pack a lot of our meals.
Wow.
So, you know, the time that it takes for something to thaw, we have a longer holding time. But, you know, I've seen a lot of colleagues be resourceful. A lot of people are buying temperature controlled equipment. Again, following the safety guidelines, you know, we're not taking as many meals out at a time. And I think the ordering really helps with that. I've seen a lot of colleagues work
Little freeze there.
refrigerator or the heating cabinet and giving it directly to the family. So that cuts down, you know, the time that you're holding the items.
So, okay, excellent points. And I think this conversation should help parents feel a little bit more comfortable and whether they're providing meals in person at home or kids are receiving meals in person in schools. So I want to say thank you to both of you for joining me this afternoon. But before we go, I would like to ask if there's anything else you'd like to share or think we didn't cover. And if there are any resources, any additional resources you'd like to share, or maybe I'll just ask our viewers to go to the Missouri Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website to look for additional resources. But before we go, Sheila, is there anything else you'd like to add to our conversation today?
Just, you know, to be patient with yourselves as you try to parent and teach and do all these tasks, and just, you know, trying to recognize that the challenging times and reach out for support. You know, there's so much out there to try to support families during this time too, and we all want to be a part of that.
Yeah, parents should cut themselves a whole lot of slack.
Yeah.
Shannon, is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation before we go tonight?
Cut yourself some slack with school meals.
Yeah.
Pick up the meals. Find your local, whatever school district that your children are enrolled in. Look at the menus, look at the websites, find out what time they're delivering. Because I think it's going to give a level of comfort to the students. They're going to see the familiar milk cartons, you know, that they go through the line and pick up their favorite, you know, foods, whatever entree that they might have. And then they get to see their lunch ladies. Those are the people who are handing out the meals. You know, their favorite lunch lady that they usually see in the line every day. Now they will be wearing a mask, but you can still see the smile in their eyes, and they're always excited to see their students. So I say, cut yourself some slack with school meals. I think your kids will be really excited to see their favorite lunch lady and their favorite foods every now and then. And they're healthy.
Yeah.
All 5
Don't
meal
forget.
components.
Yeah.
Follow the dietary guidelines for Americans. They're healthy.
Excellent point that I think people often forget, that there are nutrition requirements for school meals. So thank you for bringing that point. And that's an excellent point to end on. So thank you both for joining me this afternoon for this conversation for our Back to School Nutrition Forum. Again, I would direct all of our viewers to the Missouri Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics website. You can either Google Missouri Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, because I can't think of the website right on the top of my head. It's the end of the day. So we'll direct you there. We'll include resources that Sheila's already mentioned, some food safety ones, maybe from Shannon, and then at Children's Mercy, we have some outstanding resources on our Fitastic website, fitastic.org. That's with 2 T's. We've got at-home resources for nutrition, physical activity, well-being, and screen time. So we invite you to check that out as well. So thanks again to our panelists. And here we are signing off. Have a great evening.